Hi witches! So for today, I want to start off by saying a super huge thank you to Leslie, Claire, Heather, Shannon, and Wicked Moonlight Child for joining my Patreon this week. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. My goal is to hit 100 patrons by the end of the year, and I am so close to that, and thank you guys like so much for all of the support you guys have given me. This has honestly been like kind of the hardest year of my life, and it turns out I'm doing it publicly, so you know, super awesome. And I just like, you guys have afforded me so much grace, so much understanding, and so much kindness. Like, I've gotten a lot of people just like reaching out to me. It was like, hey, hope you're doing okay. Like, it literally like, it just filled my heart with so much love. And I hope I can give that back to you guys. So thank you so much for your support. But on to the topic for today, the upcoming harvest moon. Now, the upcoming full moon is called the harvest moon, and it takes place on September 10th. It'll peak at about 5:59, 6 o'clock in the morning. But as a reminder, you can celebrate the full moon the day before, the day of, and the day after. So if you miss one of those days, or if you're missing September 10th, no worries, dude. Now, on September 10th myself, I will be in the middle of the woods, but I am going to be hosting a patron-only or patron-exclusive ritual over on Patreon, if you guys want to join us. We are going to be welcoming in fall and beginning our Mabon celebrations, doing some tarot and making a home blessing spell pouch or spell jar, whatever you want it to make. And it's available to all levels of membership, so if you want to check it out, feel free. Now, September's full moon is not always called the harvest moon. The harvest moon is simply the full moon that is closest to the autumn equinox, and that happens to be September's full moon. This year, I believe it was actually October's last year, so it is not always called the harvest moon. You might also have heard it called the fall moon, the corn moon, the singing moon, or the barley moon. So that comes from all over the place. A lot of different cultures have different names for these moons, and I really encourage you to look up yours and maybe do some ancestor work. Now, this month's full moon is going to be in the sign of Pisces. Pisces has to do with a lot of emotion. It is a water sign, so you know, you might be feeling a little bit more emotional as we get closer to this full moon. I know in my yoga practice for the last 2 days, I've just been like crying a lot. So like in a good way, like in a releasing way. So if you feel called to do that, fantastic time for emotional release, a fantastic time to get creative. But I also kind of tend to work more so with the seasons versus astrology, though I definitely am seeing that Pisces influence, don't get me wrong. But here on my channel, I love all of those astrology guides for the full moon. I think there are some great creators on here talking about astrology and all that, but as a witch, I want to know like what I can do to like celebrate, do some witchcraft, make some magic. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, let's talk about overall the spiritual meanings or kind of those energies associated with the full harvest moon. Now, September's full moon really centers around feelings of gratitude, prosperity, and abundance. It is a time of balance and a time of transitions. And these are themes that we see also reflected in Mabon, which we'll be talking about in a couple days. So stay tuned for that. This is also a really great time to focus on the home and the hearth, which is why we're doing the home blessing spell. And this is also, September is like Pagan Pride Month. So check out your local events. There might be a local Pagan Pride event happening near you guys. Now let's talk about decorating your altar or your sacred space, right? Now some colors that are associated with this moon, of course, include black and white, silver. Those are general like moon colors, I guess, that I associate with the full moon, celebrating the full moon. But also you might want to include browns, oranges, deep reds, dark greens, and other earth tones. So in another video, in a later video, I'm going to show you how I set up my altar for this, so feel free to use that as inspiration and stay tuned for that. If you are a crystal witch, you might want to include things such as citrine, quartz, aventurine, ruby, tiger's eye, amethyst. You might also want to include shells or topaz, which are kind of symbols associated with that sign of Pisces, that beautiful water sign. If you are more into the herbalism side of green witchcraft, you might want to consider including any sort of like grain, so wheat, barley, stuff like that. Valerian, skullcap, rose, basil, oregano, sage, cloves, peonies, pomegranate, apples, things that are associated with that element of water or are kind of in season currently. So take a look around you, see what you can wildcraft. I love going out into the woods and finding stuff for spell work, and I super encourage you guys to do so too, because witchcraft does not have to be expensive. So along with those crystals and those herbs, you might also want to include symbols of fall. So like falling leaves, maybe some from outside, maybe those final herbs that you are harvesting for winter, maybe making an offering out of that, starting to include pumpkins or gourds, and again that that importance on grain and that symbol of harvest. You might also see people having cornucopias or other things that are kind of, I almost feel like they are associated with like like Thanksgiving, like American Thanksgiving, but those general kind of symbols. And again, this is a great moon to find balance in, right? So we are kind of getting back towards the equinox. We dealt with that in the spring, or I guess if you're in the southern hemisphere, the fall, and then this will be the spring. So however you find yourself or wherever you find yourself in the world, we are kind of coming back to that point where we can kind of just take a second, acknowledge what we have done in the previous half of the year, and prepare for the next. So you guys are doing great. If you've stuck with me this far, and if you've stuck with me this long, like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. I know this has been kind of a crazy year, but hopefully in the darker half of the year, we can come together, find some like healing, find some rest that we all deserve, and get ready for the next summertime next year. So now that we've talked about how to decorate, let's talk about some actionable steps you can take to celebrate the full harvest moon in Pisces. So the number one thing that I always recommend to people is to cleanse your space, cleanse your house, maybe clean your house mundanely. I did that last weekend. I literally went in, like, scrubbed the floors, hung a bunch of stuff up that I've been putting off, and I just feel a million times better. It seriously can do a world of good. You might also want to consider making some moon water. Now, the harvest moon is supposed to be really beautiful up in the sky, and if you haven't made moon water yet, or maybe you are looking to do your first type of spell work, that's where I started. Making moon water is super easy. I'm going to talk about that in another video as well, so stay tuned. Now, when you are making this moon water, I do encourage you to maybe charge it with an intention that you want to set for the season. So what is something that you would like to get done, or an energy that you would like to invite into your life during fall? So between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. Wow, I almost said summer solstice, not quite. Now, another great thing to do during this moon is prosperity magic. So just as we were working to sow our intentions into our seeds in February during Imbolc, we are now harvesting those intentions, those things that we kind of put out into the universe during Mabon. So it's good to like think back on those intentions, notice what you have accomplished, and like celebrate that for sure. You deserve it. And also take some time to do some inner reflection, see where you could have improved, because nobody's perfect. I definitely have many areas of my life that I'm like, that needs some improvement. So if you're just like, oh my gosh, like I just feel like I didn't do anything right this year, you did. Trust me, you did great. And I don't want you to be hard on yourself if you're feeling that way. I really feel like this full moon is a good time to balance your achievements with the things that you want to work on, and that's all good. The next thing that I do recommend you do is expressing gratitude. Now this can take a lot of different forms. It can be in prayer. I personally am going to be donating some food to a local food pantry. You could maybe volunteer at a local animal shelter, or just go out and clean up nature. Spend some time in nature, cleaning it up, beautifying it, getting rid of any trash that might be littered about, which I know is, again, one of my suggestions that I feel like I do every time. But I don't know, I just love the earth, and whenever I go out into nature, I do tend to like pick up trash and just like throw it away, so animals won't eat it and stuff. So maybe that's just one of my little things, I don't know. Next, if you're a kitchen witch, you might want to start beginning to prepare your pantries for winter. So harvesting fruits and vegetables now, doing canning, pickling, whatever you are interested in doing, starting a sourdough starter, etc. Whatever that looks like for you, doing it during a full moon, working in your garden, starting that preparation for winter time. Not only is it Virgo season, so it's great for that, but during this full moon, you can maybe put some intention into those. Like, how do you want these foods to nourish your family or heal your whatever that might be for you. but beginning to prepare your pantries for winter is fantastic for this. And finally, I think this is kind of just a really good time to say farewell to summer and start to transition your home and hearth into more of the fall decor, saying farewell to summer, maybe getting some more cozy things, fixing things up before winter time while it's still warm out and we can still do it. I know it can be like, it was so humid today. Oh my gosh, I'm sure you guys can tell in my hair. But yeah, I don't want to be outside necessarily. However, I know that I'm definitely not going to want to be outside when it's like 20 degrees out and I'm trying to fix something. So maybe you can tap into some of the seasonal Virgo energy and just cross a couple things off your to-do list, whatever that looks like for you. And of course, there are low energy options as well, such as carrying some of the crystals that I mentioned before, maybe dressing in some of the colors, which is also super great for witches who can't openly practice. I totally understand. I have been there. Your safety is my first priority, and if wearing an orange shirt is the only thing that you are able to do for the full moon, that's perfect. Fantastic. I love it. But yeah, other than that, please take care of yourselves. I am so glad I get to chat with you guys again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.